Well, good Wednesday morning, everyone. Glad you tuned back in. We are continuing on listening to a sermon that our Pastor Stacie Wood gave in early June called Transforming Relationships. Let's pick it up where we left off yesterday.
The ultimate litmus test to our spiritual maturity is how it's fleshed out in our relationships with other people, how it's transforming the way that we live, our attitudes, how much the fruit of the Spirit is evident in our life. That's the ultimate litmus test for our spiritual growth. So as my love for God increases, my love for people should also be increasing at the same level. But I don't always feel that. I don't know about you. But sometimes I'm like, God, I really love you. People, a little bit harder. Like I'll spend time with Jesus and I'll be like, oh, Jesus, I just love you, Jesus. I just love to spend time with you. These other people are getting on my nerves. They annoy me, Jesus, but you don't annoy me, Jesus. I like spending time with you. And you know what Jesus always says back to me? He's like, well, Stacie, I'm real glad that you like to spend time with me, but also those other people that annoy you, I love them too. And I would like for you to love them as well. And so what does that look like for us as a church family? What does it look like for us to live with these transformed relationships? So what I did was I picked out 5 distinctives from this passage that we're looking at today of what transformed relationships and a transformed love can look like. And the first one is that this kind of love is sincere instead of conditional. Sincere instead of conditional. It says in Romans chapter 12, verse 9, that love must be sincere. The way that most people love, and the way that most of us have been loved, is that there are some conditions attached to it. Like, I'll love you if you do this. And none of us would actually say that out loud, like so overtly, because it's rude and it just seems mean and wrong. We acknowledge that it's wrong, but it's that mindset that is informing the way that we interact with people. Like, I'll love you if you behave this certain way. I'll love you if you make me happy, if this relationship is mutually beneficial, if you do this for me. It's the kind of love that it makes you feel like you gotta earn it. You have to maintain it. I don't know if you've been in a relationship like that, but it affects so many relationships. Parents get into this cycle with their kids. And it happens in romantic relationships. It happens in friendship. And it's affecting the way that we interact with other people when we approach them with a conditional love instead of a sincere love. A sincere love is based on what is true and what is honest, what is truthful and genuine. There's no pretense there. There's no hypocrisy there or hiding. There's no ulterior motive. Have you ever met someone and you just feel like they're kind of living behind a mask? It's like, you're not exactly sure what's going on behind that mask. And like, I know that you said this thing, but I don't really know what you meant by that. Like you seem like you're mad, but when I ask you if you're mad, you're like, no, I'm fine. And I don't really know, like, are you telling me the truth? Or what's going on behind that mask? It'd be kind of weird if I preached my whole sermon like this, wouldn't it? But some people live their whole life like this, behind a mask. And God's inviting us to drop the mask and to love with a sincere, truthful kind of love. A lot of times we mistakenly believe that love means just making everybody feel good, never rocking the boat, just affirm everybody, just agree with everybody, and we mistake that as love. But that's not always loving. Like if someone's about to wreck their whole life, and you don't choose to say anything or be honest with them, that's not loving. If someone is gonna jump out in the street in front of a car, you pull them back from that. That's the loving thing to do. And so being sincere in our love towards one another means I'm being truthful with you. I'm being honest with you. If there's a problem in our relationship, you can count on me to be honest with you about it. And so this kind of love, a sincere love, says, my love for you can be trusted. My love for you can be trusted. There's no games that you have to play. There's nothing that you have to do to earn my love. There's no conditions around my love. It's honest, it's genuine, it's truthful, and my love for you can be trusted. That's a sincere love. Secondly, this kind of love is devoted. It's a devoted love instead of a casual kind of love. Romans 12:10 talks about be devoted to one another in brotherly love. I think it's so interesting that Paul puts those two things side by side, to be devoted in brotherly love. Because I normally think of devoted love as like a marriage relationship where there's this strong commitment, there's a covenant that binds it, there's a come hell or high water, I'm in this with you kind of love relationship. I don't think of it quite as much with friendship because our friendships tend to be so casual with one another, right? But Jesus is raising the bar here with our friendships. And he's saying, no, I want you to love with a devoted, brotherly love towards your brothers and sisters in Christ. You know, our friendship is casual. It's very convenient for us most of the time. So like, if you work in the cubicle right next to me, we can be friends because it's very convenient for me. But if your cubicle moves down the hall, you're basically dead to me. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to be loyal to you. So friendship for us typically is based on proximity and mutual interest. And so if you're right here and you seem like a good time, we can be friends. But that's not what devoted love says. Devoted love says, I'm committed to you. I'm committed to you. I would go out of my way to show loyalty to you. And it's an altogether different kind of love than the way that the world shows love to people. This kind of devoted love, it calls us to lay down our lives for one another. It invites us to forgive and forgive and forgive one another, to put the goals and interests of someone else above our own, to say, I would be willing to give up what I prefer for your greater good. This is a love that invites us to love people, not just that love us, but also our enemies, people who mistreat us. This is a love that makes no sense to the world around us, but man, is it enticing. Think about if we were a community that loved with this level of devotion, the outside world would not be able to help but to take notice and to say, man, that doesn't make sense to me, but I want to be a part of that. So many people today have issues with Christianity, not so much because they have issues with Jesus Christ, but because they have issues with Christians. People who will honor God with their lips, but their hearts are far from him, and it doesn't translate into the way that they treat other people. But if we could become a people who are truly devoted to one another and love each other with this level of loyalty and commitment, man, an outside world would take note of that kind of love. It's a devoted love. Number 3, it is an others-focused kind of love. It's not self-centered, it's others-focused. Romans 12:10 says, honor one another above yourselves. There's this great opening line to a book that you might be familiar with called The Purpose-Driven Life, written by a man named Pastor Rick Warren. And the opening line of that book is such a classic. He says, it's not about you. It's not about you. I love it. It's kind of like getting slapped as soon as you open the book and you're like, okay, thank you, I'm awake now. And this is a true story. I know someone, is a friend of my sister's, and she got the book when it first came out. She opened it and she read that first line, it's not about you. And she was like, yes, it is. She closed the book and never read the thing. Can you imagine? It's like we are so intrinsically focused, right? It's just our natural tendency that it is all about me and I don't want to think otherwise. We enter into our relationships and our opportunities in life with this what's in it for me mindset. And it's like every relationship we're in that we're doing this, we're running a cost-benefit analysis. Like, how can you help me accomplish my goals? How can you meet my needs? My need to be wanted, my need to be affirmed, my desire to make progress in my career. And you know what? That is a selfish kind of love. And it's our default. It is the kind of love that we will always go back to because it's what comes naturally to us. But Jesus set the ultimate example for us of what it looks like to be others-focused.
Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son, and give him the glory great.